Listen, I need you to understand this right now. Your words are your power, yet most people waste it. They speak, and they ramble, they fill silence with noise, and in that noise they lose every ounce of influence they could have had. But today, we change that. Today I'm going to show you exactly how to speak clearly and command every conversation you're in. Most people think that speaking a lot equals influence. They believe that filling every second with words proves intelligence or authority. That's the biggest mistake anyone can make. Rambling doesn't make you impressive. Noise doesn't make you powerful. In fact, it does the exact opposite. It dilutes your presence, makes people tune out, and destroys the credibility you spent years trying to build. Here's the truth: precision is power. Every word you speak should carry weight. Every sentence should land like a punch. Every idea should hit the target with the sharpness of a laser beam. Less is not just more, it's everything. You need to understand that clarity is the ultimate form of respect, not just for others but for yourself. When you speak precisely, you show control over your thoughts, your emotions. In your environment, ramblers give the impression that their brain is scattered, that they're chasing attention instead of commanding it. But when someone speaks with precision, every word becomes a signature, a mark that leaves an imprint in the listener's mind. People don't remember the ones who flood the air with empty sentences. They remember the person who says exactly what needed to be said at exactly the right moment. Influence is not about filling time, it's about filling minds. Think about the people you respect, the ones whose words carry weight. You'll notice a pattern. They don't talk for the sake of talking. They don't string sentences together to make themselves feel smart. They craft their words like a weapon. Every phrase is intentional, every pause is calculated, and every point drives straight to the goal. Precision creates anticipation. It makes people lean forward. It makes them hang on your next word because they know it matters. Rambling does the opposite. It numbs, it bores, it dilutes authority. You want to be memorable, not forgettable. Precision does that. Noise doesn't. This doesn't come naturally to most people because our society teaches us that talking more equals earning more. That's a lie. Talking more often leads to losing control over the conversation. It leads to saying things you don't mean, revealing things you shouldn't, and losing the respect of those listening. Precision requires discipline. It requires a sharp mind that knows what it wants to communicate before opening the mouth. You have to develop the habit of thinking in clarity first, then speaking in impact. Don't allow your thoughts to spill like water into the room without purpose. Channel them, shape them, own them. That's how influence is built. When you master precision, something incredible happens. You stop worrying about what people think of your words. You stop feeling the need to fill every silence. You realize that silence itself can be a tool. Silence can be more persuasive than speech. Silence can create tension, curiosity, and anticipation. And when you do speak, your words hit harder because the listener is already leaning in, already waiting. That's the difference between someone who talks a lot and someone who leads a lot. Leaders don't talk to fill air, they speak to fill minds. They know that influence is not a function of volume. It's a function of value. Every word must carry value or it shouldn't leave your lips. Precision also builds confidence. When you know that everything you're saying matters, you stand taller, breathe deeper, and your presence becomes magnetic. People are drawn to those who speak with authority. Because authority is wrapped in clarity, ramblers lack that. Ramblers sound anxious, scattered, and unsure. They're leaking their power in every extra word. But the precise speaker, every syllable is deliberate, every point is anchored, every pause commands respect. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you command attention without demanding it. You must train yourself daily to speak with purpose. Before you talk, ask yourself, does this word add value? Does this sentence move the conversation forward? Will this point be remembered? If the answer is no, it doesn't leave your mouth. Your speech is not a stream, it's a series of arrows, each one aimed directly at the target. Precision is not about being brief, it's about being impactful. It's about making the listener feel the weight of every single thing you say. Noise might get attention for a moment, but precision builds authority for a lifetime. Here's the hard truth: if you keep rambling, you'll stay average, you'll be forgettable. Your ideas, your influence, your potential, they'll get lost in the fog of words no one remembers. But if you commit to precision, you control your speech like a master controls a weapon. Everything changes. People listen, they remember, they follow, they respect. And in a world full of chatter, that makes you a rare breed, someone who doesn't just speak. They lead with words. That is the power of precision. That is how legends communicate. Most people think speaking clearly is just about saying the right words at the right time. That's only half the battle. The real power doesn't start in your mouth. It starts in your mind. Your brain is the command center, and if it's cluttered, your words will be messy. Every great communicator, every person who has ever commanded a room thought first, They created a mental blueprint before they opened their mouths. Without it, you're just guessing, hoping your words land instead of intentionally making them hit. Here's the truth: your thoughts shape your speech. If your thoughts are scattered, your sentences will be scattered. If your ideas are unclear, your audience won't follow. Clarity begins with strategy. Before you speak, before you even think about tone or pace, you need a mental map. Where are you going with this conversation? What do you want people to feel, think, or do when you finish? If you don't have a clear answer, you're leaving everything to chance, and chance is the enemy of influence. Creating a mental blueprint is like building a house. You wouldn't start laying bricks without a plan, without an architect's vision. You wouldn't throw wood, nails, and concrete into a pile and hope it becomes a mansion. The same goes for your words. Every speech, every conversation, every pitch should start with a design in your mind. What are the main pillars? What's the foundation? Where do you want to end up? Think about it before a word leaves your lips. When you have that clarity, speaking becomes effortless because your mind already knows the path. You're just guiding others along it. Most people fail because they treat words as disposable. They speak spontaneously without considering the structure or the impact. That's chaos masquerading as communication. If you want to be remembered, if you want to influence, if you want to lead, you must start with the mental blueprint. Map the core points. Anticipate questions, objections, and distractions. Think through examples, stories, and analogies that will land. By doing this, your speech becomes a precision tool instead of a messy stream of consciousness. You take control of the narrative rather than letting it control you. A mental blueprint also creates confidence. When you know where you're going, when your thoughts are organized, hesitation disappears. You don't ramble because you have a roadmap. You don't stumble because you know the sequence of your points. Your voice carries certainty because your mind is anchored, and confidence is contagious. People pick up on it instantly. When your audience senses that you have a plan, they relax, they lean in. They trust. That's influence, that's authority, that's the power of planning first. This is not about scripting every word. That's robotic and unnatural. The blueprint is about structure, not memorization. It's about knowing the destination, not reciting the route. It's about being intentional with every point, every transition, every story. You leave space for natural flow, for energy, for connection, but you never leave the core of your message to chance. The mental blueprint acts as a guide rail. It keeps you on track and ensures your message lands as intended. Another thing most people overlook is timing. A mental blueprint allows you to control rhythm, pacing, and emphasis. When your thoughts are structured, you know where to pause, where to accelerate, where to slow down. You create tension, anticipation, and release. You control the emotional experience of the listener because your mind mapped it before you spoke. Without that, speaking becomes reactive, inconsistent, and forgettable. Influence is not about what you say, it's about how you lead your audience through your message, and that leadership starts in your mind. The mental blueprint also prepares you for unexpected. Conversations never go exactly as planned. Questions arise, challenges appear. But if your mind has a structure, you can adapt without losing clarity. You can pivot while keeping the core intact. People who don't plan are derailed by the first curveball. People who think first respond with precision, authority, and impact. That's how leaders separate themselves from everyone else. That's how influence becomes effortless. So every time you prepare to speak, pause before you start. Create the blueprint in your mind, define your main points, visualize the structure, anticipate reactions, plan the rhythm. Once that mental map is clear, your words flow like a guided river, intentional, powerful, and impossible to ignore. The blueprint transforms your speech from chaos to mastery, from noise to influence, from forgettable to legendary. Your mind is the architect of your voice. Treat it like it. Plan before you speak, map before you act, think before you say. When you do, you don't just communicate, you dominate conversations. You don't just share words, you lead with authority. That is the secret of the mentally prepared speaker, and it is the difference between rambling and commanding respect. Confidence isn't just a feeling, it's the foundation of every word you speak. Without it, even the most brilliant ideas fall flat. People don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. When your words are anchored in confidence, they land with weight. They create presence, authority, and influence. When your words are shaky, uncertain, or hesitant, even the strongest message becomes forgettable. That's why confidence isn't optional, it's essential. Here's the thing most people get wrong. They think confidence is about being loud or aggressive. It's not. Confidence is silent. Confidence is calm. Confidence is the certainty that what you are saying matters and that your voice deserves to be heard. It's the energy that flows from knowing your thoughts are clear, your ideas are valuable, and your presence is non-negotiable. When you speak from that space, people lean in. They don't just hear you, they feel you. Your words become magnetic because they are supported by unwavering belief in yourself. Every word you speak is either anchored in confidence or exposed to doubt. Most people don't realize that hesitation leaks power. When you stumble over a sentence, when you repeat yourself, when you apologize for your thoughts, the audience senses it immediately. Doubt is contagious. Uncertainty spreads like a virus, and suddenly your message is no longer respected. It's questioned. Confidence protects your words. It gives them armor. It turns a simple idea into a statement that commands attention, respect, and action. Confidence begins in your mind. You cannot fake it effectively because people feel authenticity. You can't just shout louder or speak faster and expect influence to appear. That's desperation, not confidence. Real confidence comes from preparation, clarity, and self-belief. When your mind is clear, your message is structured, and you know the value of what you're saying, your voice naturally reflects that certainty. That energy is magnetic. People want to follow someone who speaks with conviction because they feel safety, trust, and leadership in their words. Body language reinforces confidence. Your posture, your gestures, the way you hold your head and your eyes all communicate authority before a single word is spoken. Confidence isn't just heard, it's seen. A confident speaker doesn't pace nervously, fidget, or avoid eye contact. Every movement is intentional, every pause is strategic, every word lands with power because your entire presence supports it. When your body and mind are aligned, your words are unstoppable. Breathing is another anchor. A confident speaker controls their breath, which in turn controls their voice. When you speak from a place of steady breathing, your tone is calm, strong, and resonant. You avoid rushing, filler words, and nervous rambling. Breath is rhythm, rhythm is clarity, and clarity creates influence. Confidence isn't about forcing your voice to dominate. It's about using your body and mind to naturally carry authority in every sentence. Practice is non-negotiable. Confidence isn't built overnight, but it is built consistently. The more you prepare, the more you rehearse, the more you internalize your message. Easier it becomes to speak without doubt. You know what you want to say, why it matters, and how it should land. That certainty transforms nerves into energy, hesitation into impact, and ordinary words into unforgettable statements. Confidence is a muscle. The more you exercise it through preparation and repetition, the stronger it becomes. Confidence also allows adaptability. Conversations rarely go exactly as planned. Questions arise. Objections appear, interruptions happen. A confident speaker doesn't panic. They adjust. They pivot, redirect, and maintain control because their confidence isn't dependent on a script. It's rooted in their mastery of the message and their belief in themselves. That's why leaders and influencers never seem thrown off. They're anchored in confidence, not circumstance. The impact of confidence is simple. When your words are anchored, people listen, respect, and remember. When your words are shaky, people doubt, disengage, and forget. Every sentence, every point, every story you deliver carries weight when it's built on a foundation of certainty. Your words become tools of influence because they are supported by the authority of your belief in yourself. If you want to speak clearly, if you want to influence, if you want to command respect, you cannot separate confidence from communication. Confidence is the anchor that transforms noise into clarity, hesitation into power, and ordinary sentences into legendary statements. Speak with certainty, stand with authority. Let your words reflect the unshakable belief that what you're saying matters. When you do, every room listens, every audience leans in, every message lands. That is the power of confidence, and it is the difference between speaking to be heard and speaking to be remembered. Most people underestimate the power of breathing and pacing when it comes to speaking. They think words alone will carry them. That's a huge mistake. The truth is, your breath is the engine behind your voice, and your pace is the rhythm that drives every word. Without control over these two, even the clearest thoughts can get lost, rambling can creep in, and influence evaporates. Breathing and pacing are not just mechanics. They are the foundation of authority. When mastered, they turn ordinary speakers into magnetic communicators. Let's start with breath. Your lungs aren't just organs that keep you alive. They're tools of power. Breathing properly anchors your voice, gives your words resonance, and keeps you calm under pressure. Most people speak from their throat or rush their sentences because they're shallow in their breath. That makes their voice shaky, filler. Words pop up and rambling sneaks in, but when you breathe from your diaphragm, you create stability. Every word becomes intentional. Every pause becomes meaningful. Breath is not just oxygen, it's control. It's the difference between sounding anxious and commanding attention. Controlling breath also regulates your energy. Think about it. When someone speaks too fast, they're not just rambling. They're letting nervous energy take over. That energy leaks through every word, every gesture, every hesitation. By controlling your breath, you control your energy. You create calm authority. You allow yourself to pause, to emphasize, to make your sentences hit harder. Your audience doesn't just listen. They feel the presence behind your words. Breath is invisible, but its effect is undeniable. It anchors confidence, shapes tone, and makes your message impossible to ignore. Pacing is equally critical. Speaking too fast makes your words a blur, leaving listeners overwhelmed and disengaged. Speaking too slow risks boredom and losing momentum. The key is rhythm. Rhythm gives your words flow, impact, and memorability. When your pace matches the weight of your message, your audience naturally leans in. When it doesn't, even the most important points get lost in the shuffle. Pacing is not random, it's intentional. It's a tool to emphasize, dramatize, and guide the listener through your message like a conductor guiding an orchestra. Every pause, every acceleration, every slowdown is deliberate. That's how influence is built. Breath and pace work together like a well-oiled machine. Your breath provides the power and stability. Your pace provides the rhythm and clarity. Without breath, pacing falters. Without pacing, breath is wasted. When combined, they create authority, presence, and magnetism. You don't just speak, you perform with control, precision, and impact. This is what separates those who ramble from those who leave audiences hanging on every word. Pause is your secret weapon. People underestimate the power of silence. A pause is not empty, it's intentional. It gives your audience time to absorb your words, to reflect, to anticipate what comes next. But to pause effectively, you must control your breath. A proper breath allows you to stop without panicking. It allows your words to land rather than spill. Every pause you take is an opportunity to reinforce clarity, to punctuate authority, and to reset the rhythm of your message. Ramblers rarely use pauses. They fill silence with noise, and in doing so, they dilute their influence. Controlled pacing also builds suspense. A skilled speaker knows when to slow down to make a point, hit harder, and when to accelerate to create energy. Pacing isn't just about clarity, it's about emotional control. You're guiding the audience through a journey. Fast words create excitement, slow words create gravity. By manipulating pace, you're controlling attention. You're telling listeners exactly when to lean in and when to reflect. That's strategy, that's mastery, that's influence. Practicing breath and pace is non-negotiable. Most people never realize how much energy leaks from poor control until they train it deliberately. Exercises like deep diaphragmatic breathing, reading aloud with intentional pauses, and recording yourself to adjust pacing can transform your speech. Over time, it becomes second nature. Your voice becomes a weapon, your rhythm becomes magnetic, and your presence becomes undeniable. You no longer chase attention. Attention comes to you. The ultimate goal of breath and pace control is influence. Words are only as strong as the vessel carrying them. Breath anchors that vessel, pace drives it forward. When mastered, your words don't just convey information. They create emotion, command respect, and leave a lasting impression. Rambling disappears. Hesitation disappears, doubt disappears. You become a speaker who doesn't just communicate. You dominate the space, control the room, and imprint every point in the minds of those listening. Every time you speak, remember this. The way you breathe and the way you pace are not secondary. They are the foundation of clarity and power. Your voice is not just sound, it's energy. Your rhythm is not just timing, it's influence. Control these and your words carry weight. Lose control and even brilliance falls flat. Breath and pace are invisible tools, but their impact is visible and undeniable. Master them and you don't just speak, you command. Most people think communication is about saying everything they know, filling every second of silence, and hoping someone pays attention. That's exactly why most people fail. Flooding your audience with too much information doesn't make you smarter. It makes you forgettable. Noise kills influence. Rambling destroys authority. The people who stand out, the ones who are remembered, respected, and followed, don't give information overload. They engage, they connect, they make every word count. The difference is precision. The difference is strategy. The difference is knowing when to stop. Engagement is about connection. It's about making your audience feel like they're part of a conversation, not victims of a lecture. People tune out when they're overwhelmed, when words spill faster than comprehension, when the speaker treats them like a container to dump information into. Flooding creates fatigue, confusion, and disinterest. Engagement creates focus, curiosity, and trust. When you engage, you control attention. When you flood, you lose it. Influence is not about the number of words, it's about how those words land. To engage, you must speak with intention. Every sentence must have purpose. Every story, example, or point should pull the listener in, not push them away. Imagine speaking as if you're inviting someone to step into your mind, to walk your path, to see what you see. When you flood, the path becomes crowded, unclear, and uncomfortable. Engagement is about pacing your ideas, layering them so the listener can absorb, reflect, and respond internally. It's about guiding attention rather than forcing it. The best communicators don't overwhelm, they curate. They select only the words that will move the needle. Engagement also demands energy. If you're flat, monotone, or rushed, no amount of content will hold attention. You have to match your words with presence. Tone, inflection, and expression are critical. People respond to energy more than information. If you're engaged in what you're saying, your audience mirrors that engagement. Flooding often happens when the speaker lacks focus. They try to compensate with volume, speed, or filler words. That never works. True engagement comes from alignment. Your thoughts, your voice, and your body all transmitting a unified message that pulls people in. Rather than pushing them away, pause strategically. Don't be afraid of silence. Engagement grows in the spaces between words. When you allow your audience to process, reflect, and anticipate, they become participants, not passive listeners. Flooding removes those spaces. It forces people to chase. Meaning, instead of absorbing it, by pausing, you let your message breathe. You create tension, highlight key points, and make the important moments land. Pauses are not gaps. They are amplifiers of clarity and influence. Storytelling is a powerful tool for engagement. Humans are wired for stories, not lists of facts. Instead of dumping information, craft your words into a narrative that draws the audience along. Flooding is like giving someone a spreadsheet instead of a journey. Engagement is giving them a path they can follow, a character they can relate to, a vision they can feel. Your audience doesn't just hear your words, they experience them. That's the difference between influence that lasts and noise that fades. Listening is part of engagement. True communicators don't just talk. They observe, read reactions, and adjust. When you flood, you assume everyone is absorbing it. Pace, and you lose connection. Engaging speakers sense the room, adjust their energy, emphasize points that resonate, and cut what doesn't. That dynamic responsiveness keeps people hooked. Flooding speakers have no feedback. They speak blindly, leaving impact to chance. Engagement is control. Flooding is surrender. Clarity comes from restraint. When you limit your words to the essential, you amplify their power. People don't need everything you know. They need what matters. Flooding waters down your authority, while concise, intentional communication builds it. Engagement isn't about impressing with volume, it's about influencing with precision. Every word should earn its place. Every sentence should move the audience closer to understanding, agreement, or action. Less is more. That's the law of influence. Finally, remember this. Your goal is to lead, not overwhelm. Influence grows when people feel guided, not buried. Engagement is a choice. Flooding is a habit. The difference is discipline, awareness, and the courage to let your words land instead of spilling endlessly. Engage consistently, and your audience listens, remembers, and acts. Flood continuously, and they forget you ever spoke. The people who master this principle don't just communicate. They dominate conversations. They don't just speak. They create impact. That's the power of engaging without flooding, and it is the final piece in turning ordinary speech into unforgettable influence. So here's truth: if you want to be remembered, if you want to lead, influence, or sell anything in life, your words cannot be a mess. Speak clearly. Speak with purpose. Speak so your audience leans in, not zones out. Stop rambling, start commanding, and from this moment on, let every word you say hit harder than the last. This is your time to be heard. Don't waste it.